His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto the one which hath 10 talents. But he that had received the one went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. The Lord of these servants called him wicked, slothful, and unprofitable.
Hello friends, in this video, we will be discussing the parable of the 3 talents and how the Lord disrespected his third servant. In Matthew 25:14 and 15 it says, A wealthy man was going on a long journey and called on his 3 servants to handle his trust. First, he gave him 5 talents to invest. Keep in mind that back in those times, talents could be compared to gold or other pricey products. The second he gave 2, and the last just 1 talent. But the most important part of the lesson is that he gave them based on what they can handle.
He which had received 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew that thou art a hard man, reaping where thou hast not sowed, gathering where thou hast not strawed, and I was afraid.
But no one ever thinks about the one that only got 1 talent. Why didn't he get 5 or even 2 like the others? He chose to bury his. Because maybe he was scared that he may lose his 1, so he didn't take the risk. But if he had 2, he could have done more. If he had 2, he could have had more to trade or double his. But the key thing to take from this parable, as I mentioned before, was that he gave each according to his several abilities. What does that mean, you ask? Okay, so let me explain. He gave each servants based on what they could have produce. The first one had 5 because he knew how to flip it. As verse 16 states that, the one that had received 5 went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents, meaning that he used his 5 to get 5 more by trading. In modern times of now, that means invested.
Saying, Lord, thou deliveredest unto me 5 talents. I have gained besides them 5 talents more. And his Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things.
The Lord had went away for a while, as verse 19 stated. So he had time to lose some and gain back in long process, as so did the one with 2. But the one that had 1 talent was not so fortunate, based on his ability. So hear me out. Put this in your perspective for a moment. Based on his ability, the Lord only gave him 1. He had set him up for failure. He knew that he was not going to double 5 nor 2, so he gave him 1. Just think about it for a second. 5, 2, and 1. His incapability of producing a second one was already set in stone. His master didn't believe in him, so he had already failed before he received his talent. Most likely, he was scared to lose it and chose to bury because of the lack of faith from his master. And for his peers, the other 2, they didn't even assist him on doubling his talent. Admit it, most of us think like the servant that got 1 talent, or even know someone who think this way. I must admit, I am guilty of that as well. I've saved money and was scared to invest it because of fear of losing it, or the lack of education on how to grow it. So a part of me is a bit sensitive when his master demeaned him the way he did. In verse 26, the Lord said unto that last servant, You're a wicked and slothful servant.
You are a wicked and slothful servant. Not because you lost what I gave you, but because you didn't even use what I gave you.
Wow, the disrespect. No wonder he hid his talent. It gets even worse. Instead of giving direction or a second chance, in verse 28 it says, Take the one he didn't invest and give it to the first one that has 10. I understand the parable of what Jesus was saying, but just imagine if these were your children and you gave the oldest 5,000 who is a genius, second child 2,000, and the last child who doesn't have much potential or has a young mindset just 1 to multiply, and he could not do that. That was why I stated this earlier, that he gave them the talents based on their several abilities, meaning he must have known that the one that received 1 was going to fail. Think about it. He unburied his and brought it to him, saying, Lord, I know thine heart, and you are a hard man. He's hard to please. You have the wisdom of sowing and reaping, meaning he has the skill. I did not want to lose what you have given unto me, so I buried it. He was honest, but yet he still lose his to his older brother. He lacked the ability to produce, but his Lord tried to give him a chance, and he failed. When he failed, his Lord called him wicked and slow.
I went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, here thou hast, that is thine. Wait a minute. When we don't take what God has invested in us and use it to turn it into more, turn it into what? Talk to me, my peeps. More. God said, take it from the one who did nothing with it and give it to the one who's going to do something with it. And it's interesting. He didn't even say take from the one who has 1 and give it to the one that had 5, the one that has 4. He said take it from the one that has 1 and give it to the one that has 10.
We all know that the parable was to teach us that if God give us blessing of gifts and talents, we should not bury it. Thanks for watching.
Verse 28, take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him that has 10 talents. For unto every one that hath it shall be given, and he shall have abundance. And from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness, where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.